Chosen one, the place of your loneliness is now the stage of your power. For so long you have felt hidden, unseen, overlooked. You carried the weight of silence, the heaviness of isolation, the ache of walking paths alone that others could not understand. You wondered why life separated you, why it pushed you into corners, why your journey seemed to strip you of companionship. At times you thought it was punishment. At times you thought it was abandonment. But now the message becomes clear. What felt like loneliness was not a curse. It was a preparation. The ground that once felt like exile has been transformed into the foundation of your elevation. What was once the most painful part of your path will now become the most powerful part of your testimony. Before we continue, stay with this message until the very end, because every word has been written to realign your spirit with its truth. And write your warmest wishes in the comments and type 144. This is not only a symbol of connection, it is a vibration that energizes the universe with your intention. Your wishes are not empty words, they are seeds released into the unseen, and this number is the mark that activates them. Let your energy echo through the comments, knowing that what you write will rise and return multiplied. Now, Chosen One, show your light by liking this video and subscribed to the channel, and let's step into this together. Chosen One, the silence you endured had purpose. The tears you cried in hidden places were not wasted. The nights you spent feeling like no one saw you, no one heard you, no one cared. They were shaping you into someone who could stand in the fullness of their own power without needing the validation of the crowd. Loneliness built within you a strength that comfort could never have created. While others were busy seeking approval, you were learning resilience. While others found identity in the noise, you were finding your truth in the stillness. What seemed like emptiness was actually the sacred process of being filled with what could not be given by people. It is in loneliness that you discovered what you carry. When the voices fell silent, you were left with your own. And in that silence, you learned to hear what was always speaking beneath the noise. You heard the call, the whisper, the guidance that others missed because they were too distracted. You may have felt forsaken, but in reality, you were being refined. The place of your loneliness became the place of your encounter. It became the place where you realized that you were never truly alone because something greater was always shaping you, always watching over you, always preparing you for what was to come. Chosen One, the reason the loneliness was so heavy is because you were being stripped of dependence. If you had been surrounded by the wrong people, you would have settled for less. If you had been surrounded by constant company, you would have ignored the deeper call inside of you. So the path required separation, not to break you, but to build you. Every season of being misunderstood was a season of being molded. Every moment of isolation was a moment of being strengthened. You did not lose people because you were unworthy. You lost people because your path required clarity. Loneliness was never a prison. It was a classroom. And now the sacred message becomes clear. The very place that once felt like abandonment is about to become your stage of power. The ground you walked alone is about to testify of your strength. The same silence that once hurt you is about to announce you. The emptiness you thought would destroy you is now the canvas upon which your purpose will be revealed. The loneliness carved into you an authenticity that cannot be shaken, a resilience that cannot be stolen, a clarity that cannot be clouded. That is why the stage is ready now. Because you are no longer afraid of standing alone. You have already been there, and you discovered your power in it. Chosen one, pay attention to how everything shifts now. Where you once felt unseen, you will now be noticed. Where you once felt unvalued, you will now be honored. Where you once felt silenced, you will now be heard. The same loneliness that once made you question your worth has prepared you to walk with authority that no crowd can give and no critic can take away. The stage of your power has been built out of the bricks of your solitude, and every lonely step was part of laying its foundation. This is why you must not despise the season of isolation. What looked like emptiness was actually construction. What looked like delay was actually preparation. What looked like rejection was actually protection. Loneliness created a platform inside of you that can now hold the weight of influence, responsibility, and destiny. And because you endured it, you are now unshakable. Your stage is not made of applause, it is made of resilience. Your spotlight is not man-made, it is divine. And the world will see in you what was always there, but only loneliness could bring out. Chosen one, the season of loneliness was never meant to define you. It was meant to refine you. You have walked through stretches of your life where silence was your only companion, where people disappeared without explanation, where support seemed distant, and comfort never arrived. You wondered why, and at times you even begged for answers. Yet looking back now, you can see that something sacred was happening in those empty spaces. Loneliness was chiseling away the parts of you that could not remain. It was stripping you of illusions, revealing to you what was real, and preparing you for a power that could not be given if you had always been surrounded. In the place of loneliness, you learned the art of standing on your own. You discovered that your worth was not tied to applause, your strength was not dependent on company, and your identity was not anchored in validation. You became your own anchor when storms raged, your own fire when nights were cold, your own voice when silence tried to swallow you. And now, what you thought was weakness has become your greatest strength. The very ground that felt barren is now the fertile soil where your destiny grows. What was once a wilderness is now the foundation of a stage, and upon that stage, you will stand in power that no one can take from you. Chosen one, you may not see it clearly yet, but your loneliness has birthed something rare in you: authenticity. You have no need to perform, no desire to mask yourself, no compulsion to fit into molds that do not match your design. In your solitude, you became acquainted with your true self, and in knowing yourself, you also came to know your purpose. This is why, when you stand before others now, they will perceive something different about you. They will feel the depth of your journey. They will sense the resilience in your spirit. They will be moved by the truth in your presence. The stage of your power will not be built on pretense, but on the authenticity you discovered when you were alone. And here lies the beauty. Loneliness has given you the one thing that cannot be faked: authority. Authority does not come from titles, from positions, or from recognition. Authority comes from surviving what should have destroyed you. It comes from rising again when you were certain you had no strength left. It comes from enduring nights that no one else saw and walking through fires that no one else knew. Authority comes from walking alone and yet still standing. And because you have walked through loneliness, you now carry authority that others cannot explain but cannot deny. Chosen one, the place that once broke you is the very place that now builds you. The silence that once wounded you is the very silence that now strengthens you. The loneliness that once hollowed you out is the very loneliness that now fills you with power. You see, nothing was wasted. Every tear watered the soil of your future. Every ache carved out space for greater capacity. Every night of loneliness was a rehearsal for the moment you would step into visibility with unshakable confidence. The pain of loneliness has been transformed into the platform of your destiny. So when you stand in your power, remember where it began. Do not despise the lonely nights that prepared you. Do not curse the solitude that sharpened you. Do not regret the isolation that built you, because without them, you would not be who you are today. Without them, your stage would have no foundation. Without them, your power would have no root. The place of your loneliness is not your shame. It is your story, and it is the story that will set the stage for everything you are about to step into. Chosen one, what you once called loneliness was never empty space. It was sacred space. It was in those moments, when no one else stood with you, that the truest parts of your being were forged. The silence became the fire, the emptiness became the chisel, and the stillness became the mirror. Loneliness gave you what crowds could not: clarity. It removed the noise. It stripped away the illusions, and it placed you face to face with the essence of who you really are. And though at the time you wished for company, what you truly needed was that space to grow into the power you now carry. Think about it, chosen one. If you had never walked alone, you would not have discovered your inner strength. If you had never been left behind, you would not have realized that you were always enough. If you had never sat in silence, you would not have learned how to hear the whispers that others overlook. Loneliness was never punishment. It was refinement. It refined your vision. It refined your heart. It refined your spirit. And now, because you endured it, you stand with a strength that cannot be shaken, a voice that cannot be silenced, and a presence that cannot be ignored. This is why the very place of your loneliness is now becoming the stage of your power. Those who once ignored you will now have no choice but to notice. Those who once doubted you will now have no choice but to acknowledge. Those who once left you behind will now see that the place they abandoned you in has become the ground where you rise. What they perceived as your breaking point was actually your building point. What they called weakness is now the evidence of your resilience. What they thought was your ending has become the foundation of your new beginning. Chosen one, loneliness also gave you depth. While others skimmed the surface, you were forced to dive deep. While others distracted themselves with noise, you were confronted with truth. While others lived for attention, you learned to live from intention. This depth is what separates you now. People will look at you and sense weight they cannot explain. They will hear you speak and feel layers that silence carries. They will see you stand and feel the gravity of someone who has walked through solitude and emerged whole. Depth is what makes your stage unshakable, and that depth was carved in the place of your loneliness. And understand this: the stage of your power is not about performance, it is about presence. You do not need to prove yourself. You do not need to beg for recognition. You do not need to compete for attention. Your very presence carries the authority of your journey. When you walk into spaces, your silence will speak louder than others' noise. When you stand in front of people, they will feel the truth of your survival in your energy. When you move, the strength you cultivated in solitude will move with you. This is not about trying to be powerful. It is about finally realizing that you already are. Chosen one, the sacred transformation is this: loneliness has shifted into legacy. What once felt like emptiness has become fullness. What once felt like isolation has become influence. What once felt like silence has become testimony. You thought no one saw you, but now the very world will see what was being built in secret. You thought no one valued you, but now your value will be undeniable. You thought no one heard you, but now your voice will echo far beyond what you imagined. And all of it is rooted in the ground of your loneliness. That ground is holy, because it birthed in you a strength and a clarity that could come no other way. So remember this, chosen one, never despise the place that birthed you. Never regret the silence that shaped you. Never curse the emptiness that filled you. What you endured in loneliness has become the crown upon your head. And the very place where you once felt powerless has now transformed into the stage where your power will shine the brightest. Chosen one, your loneliness was not just for you. It was also for those who will come after you. You carried silence so that others could one day find their voice. You walked alone so that others would see that survival in solitude is possible. You endured rejection so that others who feel abandoned could look at you and find hope. The stage of your power is not just about your elevation, it is about your example. When people see you rise, they will realize that loneliness is not the end of them either. Your life will become proof that isolation is not the grave, but the soil where greatness is planted. You must understand that everything you went through in your solitude became training for influence. The tears you cried in secret watered the seeds of compassion that now live within you. The weight you carried alone built the strength that allows you to carry others now. The silence that once crushed you sharpened your ability to hear what others miss. What you endured when no one was watching has now equipped you to stand when everyone is watching. The private battles of your loneliness have become the public victories of your power. Chosen one, think of how different you are now compared to before the loneliness. Before, you searched for validation. Before, you longed for acceptance. Before, you measured your worth by who stayed with you. But loneliness broke those chains. Loneliness showed you that you could lose everything and still not lose yourself. It revealed to you that you could be stripped of support and still stand. And now, because of that, you walk with a confidence that is unshakable. You do not need the crowd to confirm you, because the silence already did. You do not need the world to choose you, because loneliness already proved that you were chosen. And here is the paradox. The very place people left you is the very place they will have to return to in order to witness your rise. The same ground that once looked barren will now be filled with evidence of your power. The same silence that once surrounded you will now be filled with the sound of your influence. Those who dismissed you will have to face the truth that your isolation did not end you, it refined you. And those who doubted you will have no choice but to admit that the place of your loneliness has become the stage of your power. Chosen one, what you carry now is presence. Not just presence in a room, but presence in the spirit of others. When you speak, people will hear more than words. They will hear weight. When you move, people will sense more than action. They will sense authority. When you simply exist, people will feel more than a person. They will feel a force. That force was not created in crowds. It was born in solitude. And now it cannot be ignored. You are a living testimony that power built in silence cannot be silenced when revealed. So do not despise the stage you are stepping onto. Do not shrink back from the visibility you once wished for, but now may feel unprepared to carry. You are not unprepared. The loneliness was your preparation. Every unanswered question, every night of tears, every silent season was shaping you for this very moment. The stage of your power is not foreign ground, it is familiar soil, because it was built from the place you already know. The only difference now is that the world will see what only you and your silence once knew. Chosen one, the sacred message is this: the loneliness that once hurt you has now crowned you. What once felt like emptiness has become evidence. What once felt like abandonment has become authority. What once felt like silence has become strength. And now the stage is yours, not to perform, not to pretend, but to embody the truth of who you became when no one else was watching. The stage of your power is not just for display, it is for impact. The loneliness you endured was shaping you to stand not only for yourself, but also for others. When you step forward now, your presence will shift atmospheres. When you speak, your words will break barriers. When you move, your very steps will alter the environment. This is not exaggeration. It is the truth of what solitude has made of you. Power built in hiddenness does not fade in the open, it intensifies. Your loneliness was the hidden fire, and now that fire is ready to burn where the world can see. Think of how many people watched you from a distance and thought you would never rise again. They saw your loneliness as weakness, your silence as defeat, your separation as the end of your story. But they did not know that silence was strengthening you, loneliness was shaping you, and isolation was equipping you. Now, when they see you step into your power, they will not understand how it happened. They will wonder how someone they counted out became someone they cannot ignore. They will be forced to recognize that the stage you now stand on was built from the very place they thought would destroy you. Chosen one, the stage of your power is also a stage of revelation. Those who encounter you will not only see you, they will see themselves. Your presence will awaken what is hidden inside of them. Some will feel inspired, drawn closer to their own potential, empowered to step into their truth. Others will feel confronted, unsettled by the reflection of what they have denied within themselves. Your life will become a mirror, and mirrors do not lie. That is why some will love you, some will resist you, but none will be able to ignore you. Loneliness has given you the power to reveal, and what is revealed cannot be unseen. Chosen one, you must also know this: the stage of your power is not about pride, it is about purpose. It is not about proving anything to those who left you behind, but about fulfilling what you were always called to do. Loneliness stripped away the distractions so that when this moment came, you would know exactly what matters. You are not stepping into visibility to chase applause. You are stepping into visibility to release truth. You are not rising to satisfy curiosity. You are rising to embody destiny. You are not being seen so people can admire you. You are being seen so people can be changed by what you carry. That is the sacred responsibility of your stage. And yes, chosen one, your stage will draw both favor and resistance. Power always attracts attention, and not all attention is pure. Some will come close to celebrate. Others will come close to consume. Some will admire your strength. Others will attempt to compete with it. But remember this: your stage was built in loneliness, and loneliness already taught you how to stand alone. You are not afraid of being misunderstood. You are not shaken by rejection. You are not dependent on applause. You know how to be powerful in silence, and that is why no noise can undo you now. The transformation is complete. What once felt like emptiness has now become overflow. The stage of your power is not a place of performance, but a place of presence. You no longer need to explain yourself. Your life itself is the explanation. You no longer need to seek recognition. Your authenticity speaks louder than any introduction. You no longer need to chase opportunity. Opportunity will now chase you because your stage has been built, and it cannot be hidden. The loneliness prepared you, and now the world must witness the truth. You were never abandoned. You were being positioned. Chosen one, the sacred message reaches its conclusion here. The very ground where you once wept in silence has now become the place where you rise in strength. The loneliness that nearly crushed you has been transformed into the stage where your voice will be heard, where your presence will be felt, where your destiny will unfold. You are no longer standing in the shadows of abandonment. You are standing in the spotlight of purpose. What once felt like your greatest weakness has revealed itself as your greatest strength. You thought you were hidden because you were forgotten, but in truth, you were hidden because you were being prepared. Chosen one, remember those nights when you cried yourself to sleep, wondering why no one stayed, why no one seemed to understand, why you had to walk alone. Those nights carved into you a depth that cannot be faked. They gave you eyes that see beyond appearances, ears that hear what is unsaid, and a heart that feels what others hide. Loneliness sharpened you into someone who can no longer be deceived, someone who carries truth not as an idea, but as a lived reality. That is why, now that you step into your power, people will feel something different. They will sense the history written in your presence. They will hear the authority that silence taught you. They will recognize the depth that only isolation could have birthed. The stage of your power is not only about influence, it is about responsibility. You were entrusted with loneliness because it was the only way to prepare you for the weight of destiny. Not everyone can handle being alone. Not everyone can withstand silence. Not everyone can endure rejection and still rise whole. But you did, and because you did, you now carry the strength to stand where others cannot. This is why your rise will not only lift you, but it will also lift those who witness you. Your story will awaken hope in those who feel forgotten. Your presence will restore faith to those who feel abandoned. Your voice will bring courage to those still trapped in silence. Chosen one, your power now rests in the fact that you are unshakable. Loneliness already tested you. Silence already proved you. Isolation already strengthened you. Nothing the world throws at you can undo what was built in you there. Crowds cannot distract you, because you learned to walk without them. Critics cannot destroy you, because you learned to survive without their approval. Fame cannot intoxicate you, because you already know who you are without recognition. You are not stepping into power for the first time. You are simply stepping into visibility. The power has always been there. It was forged in the hidden seasons of your life. And now, chosen one, the world will see it. The very place where you felt weakest is now the place where you are strongest. The loneliness that once felt like exile has become the foundation of your empire. The silence that once felt like punishment has become the training ground of your authority. The stage you stand on now is not built on applause, but on resilience. It is not lit by spotlights, but by the fire that kept you alive in the dark. It is not supported by the crowd, but by the strength you built when no one else was there. This is why your power cannot be shaken, because it was not given by people, and so it cannot be taken by them. Chosen one, the sacred message is simple yet profound. Do not despise the place of your loneliness. Do not regret it. Do not curse it. Do not wish it away. It was the birthplace of your power, the furnace of your becoming, the soil of your destiny. What you thought was the end was really the beginning. What you thought was emptiness was really preparation. What you thought was loss was really gain. And now you stand on the stage of your power, carrying within you the undeniable truth that what once broke you has become the reason you can never be broken again. The story of your loneliness is not one of defeat. It is one of transformation. The very moments that felt unbearable have become the secret of your strength. You thought no one noticed the weight you carried, but heaven saw it all. You thought no one cared about your silence, but that silence was sacred. Every sigh, every tear, every night you spent questioning your place in the world became the raw material of your authority. This is why your presence feels different to those around you now. They can sense that you are not the same person you once were. You are carrying the refinement of solitude, and it radiates from you in ways that cannot be explained, but only felt. Chosen one, when people encounter you, they are meeting the product of both pain and perseverance. They don't just see your smile, they sense the storms behind it. They don't just hear your words, they feel the weight of what shaped them. They don't just notice your strength, they recognize the fragility that once existed and the resilience that grew in its place. Loneliness taught you how to transform brokenness into brilliance, and now that brilliance shines through you as undeniable presence. That is why your life will always stir others, why your voice will always carry power, why your steps will always command attention. The place of your loneliness has become a testimony. When you speak, people will feel more than advice. They will feel the authenticity of someone who has lived through what others only imagine. When you stand, people will see more than posture. They will see the evidence of someone who refused to fall permanently. When you create, people will experience more than work. They will sense the hand of someone who endured isolation and still brought forth something beautiful. Loneliness birthed in you a kind of depth that the world cannot imitate. And now your life is proof that the deepest pain can produce the brightest light. Your loneliness also gave you the ability to walk in both worlds, the hidden and the revealed. You know what it means to be unseen, and you know what it means to be noticed. You know the sting of rejection, and you know the strength of resilience. You know the silence of empty rooms, and soon you will know the sound of stages that echo with your voice. This balance makes you unshakable. You cannot be intoxicated by attention because you know the reality of absence. You cannot be broken by rejection because you already surveyed abandonment. You cannot be shaken by loneliness anymore because you have turned it into your foundation. And now, chosen one, the stage of your power is not only for you, it is for those who are still walking the road you once walked. They are in their lonely seasons, still questioning, still crying, still feeling unseen. When they see you rise, they will realize that their loneliness too has purpose. They will understand that what feels like emptiness is actually construction, that what feels like abandonment is actually preparation. You will become a living symbol of what happens when someone refuses to give up in the silence. Your story will whisper to them, "If I could survive it, so can you. If I could rise from it, so can you. If my loneliness became my power, so will yours." This is your truth, chosen one. The silence that once surrounded you has now become the sound of your strength, echoing for all to hear.